What accounts for this bizarre, actually bizarro, upside down holding that the highest office in the land, the one with the greatest power, the one whose danger to the republic is at its maximum, would somehow be exempt? The judge herself says, she admits, this sounds preposterous. That's her word. She says it would carry the preposterous implication that Jefferson Davis, who took an oath to the Constitution before becoming a senator, then became a senator, then turned on the Constitution, then became a Confederate and the president of the Confederacy, that he could then become president of the post-Civil War United States. She says, I know that's preposterous, but maybe the writers just goofed. Right. She says, maybe it was inadvertent. They were not inadvertent. She says, for whatever reason, that's the way she reads it. My suspicion is that having built a wall of fact and law so high that no appellate court could climb over it, a wall that establishes that Trump was guilty of engaging in a disqualifying insurrection, she threw him a lifeline that was so thin, so threadbare, so likely to fall apart, that although he could claim victory, no appellate court could uphold putting him on the ballot on that basis. So she basically had it both ways.
Duh! Now, I didn't even know that Lawrence Tribe was going to invoke Jefferson Davis before I played that. I had no idea. It was part of the stuff that I had this morning, but I didn't get a chance to listen to it because I had to go to the dentist again. But isn't that something? Isn't that special? Isn't that, great minds think alike and all that good stuff? It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous ruling, calls it a holding. Okay, it's a ridiculous ruling. It makes no sense, but none of this does. None of it does. That today judges were told that Donald Trump is witness tampering on his social media, that he is intimidating witnesses, that he's intimidating the staff of the courts, that he's threatening people with violence, and the judge wants to know, and why isn't that protected free speech? Are you kidding me? Have we really lost our grip on the dividing line between fair play, fair speech, free speech, and violent threats? We can't tell the difference anymore. We can't tell the difference between an officer of the United States, the chief law enforcement officer of the United States, the person who takes an oath to be the officer that upholds and protects the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, isn't actually an officer, even though he did engage in insurrection. And then you have another court said, well, he did engage in insurrection, and he may still well be considered an officer of the United States, but we don't even want to go there. So here's where we'll dump it. Here's where we drop it. Here's where we give up on making a ruling or having a holding. We say, well, this particular ballot isn't a presidential ballot. This particular ballot is a primary ballot. And so he's running for the nomination of his party, not the presidency. We don't have to make a conclusion at this point. We reserve the right to rule later on. What kind of people are these? We pay them almost like $200,000 a year, and they won't protect the United States from a man who is indicted in 4 jurisdictions for 91 felonies, who has been found to be a sexual abuser by a jury, no less. And, faces trial for espionage in Florida with a friendly judge, by the way, who is, she's mucking up the calendar, lovely little, the judge that loves Donald Trump, that was appointed by Donald Trump, that feels beholden to Donald Trump for her very existence. Okay. So she's holding the date that she, intends to hold for the trial, but everybody agrees that her date is May 20th, 2024. hardly anybody, to a person who pays attention to this stuff, thinks that there will be an actual trial in May. Okay, nobody really thinks that's going to happen because she hasn't done any of the pretrial stuff. She's not getting it moving. And so she's just holding that date and refusing to say we won't be ready on May 20th because that would free up the calendar for other trials. And she doesn't want to do that. She doesn't want to, see him come to the bar of justice and make his case. She's not interested in that. She's actually playing on his team as a judge. Now, get ready for more of that if this guy becomes president. Because, when you listen to the rantings of a Steve Bannon, and he says things like Kash Patel should be the head of the CIA, and Laura Loomer ought to be, I don't know, the press secretary, and he picks the most wackadoodle people you could possibly pick, the most, sycophantic, genuflecting psychos that you could think of, the most psychotic people that this country has ever produced, and he throws their name into the, hey, this is who will be, our next Secretary of Defense thing. Michael Flynn will go back to being our national security advisor. The man that actually said we should declare martial law and have the military take the machines. That guy is still in play to be the national security advisor. That's true. So when you listen to Steve Bannon say these things,
Kash Patel, this great patriot, people think Kash is just a genius about counterterrorism and national security and everything like that, and he is, and he'll be the head of the CIA in the second term. But Kash understands the administrative state. This is more than a bureaucracy, right? This is an organic thing that's grown. It has its own courts. It puts its own legislation out in the Federal Register. It has its own enforcement capability. It's an absolute government that must be taken apart brick by brick. And Kash showed us how. Axios has been reporting it. Remember, we have 4,000 political appointees in any administration. Roughly 1,000 have to be Senate confirmed, so they're going to take a while. 3,000 can hit the beach day one.
The beach. It's a war.
In 16, obviously, it was a come from behind victory. We didn't have this. We didn't have the troops. We hadn't really gotten organized like that. But now we have no excuse. This is why you have all these great think tanks coming up. We're going to have a well-trained cadre of people that will hit the beach day one. And their number one thing is to start taking apart the federal bureaucracy brick by brick.
He calls them shock troops. This is exactly, the kind of stuff that, you could set it aside as the rantings of a madman. You could set it aside as, somebody who really is an insurrectionist and wants to declare war upon his own nation, upon his own country. And, goes on his little podcast every single day and says that's what he's about. You could ignore that, but if you did, you would be ignoring it at your own peril, because that is exactly what Donald Trump intends to do. There is no question about it. He is looking to you. I mean, everybody, that knows what he's doing the print journalists are writing these stories. They're true stories. They're fact check stories. Donald Trump is using Oracle's version of artificial intelligence to scour everybody that he's considering being one of his shock troops to pull into his government after he purges thousands and thousands and thousands of civil servants, thousands of people who say no to overturning the Constitution out of our government and inserting these loyalists, these sycophants. And he's looking at their social media profiles and their social media postings to make sure they've never said a bad word about Trump as they are interviewing these people for these jobs. It's on.